Hello everyone. In this podcast I want to cover how to create the jawControl. Now this is really going to be a review over creating controls in general. So we got a jaw and we can rotate it up and down like this. And we ask ourselves, what type of control do we want? Do we want to make an IK to translate this up and down? Honestly, grabbing down here and just translating up and down probably is not the best thing. So maybe an IK, even though it would rotate down, probably is not the best thing right here. So we're thinking of an FK system. Now the next question is, do we want to create a local or a world-oriented control for this? If we create a local-oriented control, now the reason why I'm talking about all these is that not necessarily the most complex way is the best way on here. So if I create a local-oriented control and I put shifts to side, see how the jaw is kind of moving up with the mouth and everything? I really want this to be world. I'm going to go into world mode on here so you can see it. I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to open and close just run here. So I'm thinking in this case, the local oriented control probably is in the direction I want to go. I might still want to pad it and put a world pad on there and put the pivot point there and connect into that, but I'm going to actually do that. So remember the rules of creating a FK control. The pivot point is really important. The visibility is really important. So I'm just going to create a circle. We could do an arrow. We could make, I've done face guards and jaws and things like that, teeth. So I'm going to create a circle, which is all the way down here. Okay, so let's just snap that right up here. I'm going to put that around, say that, make that 90 degrees, like that. Is it aligned? It is. Okay, let's bring it down. I'm just going to fashion kind of like a half circle, a little bit thing. I'm just going to grab my control vertexes and just kind of bring them in. So it's kind of like a mouth guard. Or you could say a Pac-Man. I seem to be doing a lot of those. Okay, so I got my control. I'm going to say that's going to be my control. Now remember, pivot point. It's an FK control. It's very, very important. Also, I need to freeze my transforms and delete any history that I have. So I'm just going to say modify, freeze transforms, edit, delete by type, history. Like that. And now I got to move my pivot point over to my jaw. So I'm going to make sure I can't see my geometry. Hold down D and V. Now this should be like, okay, we've done this before. We did this with the back. We did this with multiple different controls. We did this with the feet and things like that, and you would be absolutely correct on here. So next thing we have to ask is, first of all, we're also going to name this. This is going to be my center jaw icon. How are we going to connect it to this joint? I'm going to bring back my geometry. We're definitely going to do a rotation. We want to do that. But what about translation? And this is going to be the different what type of constraint I'm doing. So I can do a parent constraint, which does translation and rotation. I could do a point, which is only translation, which won't work. An orient constraint, which only does rotation. And it's obvious an orient constraint would definitely work for here. But I'm going to make an argument for actually being able to translate the joint down, because that allowed me to do something like this. It'll also allow me to do stuff like this, where I can shift from side to side. And he needs a little bit better weighting to get that full shift on here. So I could do stuff like that, because your jaw is not just rotating from this point, it is shifting from side to side. So in this case, I'm going to think a parent constraint would work really well. Now remember, they don't have the same orientation, so we need to make sure our maintain offset is turned on. So we go up to our constraint, parent constraint, go into the option. Our maintain offset is turned on. Remember, if this is turned off, it snaps. They're not the same orientation, which would make the joint rip off like that. So that's not good. So we turn that on. Again, remember, it's driver, driven, hit apply. And there we go. Cool. Looks like my curve got a little bit bent out of shape. Luckily, remember, curves can be modified. The CVs can be modified after the fact. They don't add any history. Okay. So almost done. But when I open my head, he does a yawn. He's like, yawn, which we don't want, because this control needs to be connected to my head. Now the question is, can I just parent these together? Now the controls, can controls be parented to other controls? Yes, they can. So I go into my control group and I say, okay, I'm just going to connect them right to the head. Could I do a parent constraint to the head? You could, but you can't just do it to this guy because you can't put a parent constraint on this control because it would override it. If you had a pad above it and you want to do a constraint, you can completely do that. But in this case, we're just going to parent it. I'm going to middle mouse drag it right under the head icon like that. There we go. Now, I could have probably done this in like a second. I could say, okay, let's just create FK control its world and doom. Let's do it. But I just wanted to go over because it's been a little while since we've created some controls, and I wanted to go over those details onto it and how to create that. But hopefully that cleared that up. If you have any questions, just hit me up.